MLB 2024 predictions. That's where we're at right now. So I'm going to, and I don't know if you guys saw our video last year. We're going to link that one below for sure. And depending on how long this video, I'm going to put the timestamps in because we're going to start at the AL East and then go AL Central, AL West, NL East, NL Central, and then NL West. So depending on how long the video goes, I may put timestamps for that. But for sure, I'll link the one last year that I did with Jake and that I did with Loud Marlins fan page. The three of us, we did predictions last year just to see, like, how things have shifted, I guess, what our predictions were. So, and I'll tell you a little bit about mine. So last year I got 3 out of 6 correct. I predicted that the Astros would win the AL West. They barely hung on to win that one. I predicted that the Dodgers would win the NL West. And then I predicted that, oh yeah, the Twins would win the AL Central. And then the other ones I got wrong. I predicted the Mets were going to win the NL East. Oops, that didn't work out. And then I predicted the Cardinals were going to win the NL Central. Oops, they finished last place. And then I predicted, what was the other division? The AL East. I predicted Toronto was going to win, and they obviously underperformed a little bit. So 3 out of 6, I think that's not bad for division winners, but let's try to get at least 4 out of 6. Let's move that up this year. So what I'm going to do just a little, if you watch the video that I linked, just a little bit differently from last year. What I'm going to do is we just predicted division winners. I'm going to do that too, but I'm just going to add who I think's an actual contender for the division and who's not a contender. Just to simplify that even further. But all right, so here we go. And by the way, I can predict that the Dodgers and the Padres will at least lose one game. I'm just messing. Obviously, that series already happened in South Korea this past week. Pretty explosive game on Thursday, too. It's like 15-12, 15-11. So, yeah, gave the international crowd a sight to see. But anyways, okay, we'll start at the L East, like I said. I think there's 2 non-contend. I don't think the Red Sox are going to contend. Why is that? I don't think the Red Sox are going to contend because I think they're better than some people give them credit. Like, people think the Red Sox suck, but they don't. They're just around 500. You still have Rafael Devers. You still have Trevor Story, who's a really good hitter, maybe not defensive. Well, he was more of a defensive bet at the beginning of his career with Colorado. He obviously last year did a decent hitting year. So you have those kind of corner pieces in your lineup, but outside of that, they really don't have much pitching. They were really banking on Lucas Giolito coming and kind of improving their staff, but he's out for the year now. So their bullpen was rough last year. I don't see that changing much, and the starting staff does not look that deep either. So that's going to be a problem for the Red Sox. I don't think they're contenders in this division, and I don't think Tampa Bay is. That's a little bit surprising, right? Because Tampa Bay, they went to the World Series in 2020, and every year since they've been contending. However, I think there's some big changes. The pitching staff, like I said, has changed a lot. Tyler Glasnow's, of course, on the Dodgers now. He just pitched this week. And then, Wander Franco, we have no idea what's going on. Sometimes something like that can take a toll on a clubhouse. We've seen that before. And obviously still a very good lineup, starting with Yonder Diaz hitting at the top. He was the batting champion last year. You still have Randy Arozarena, who's a crazy talent. So they'll still be good, but I think the AL East is too good this year to where the Rays won't be a contender either. So that leads us to 3 possible contenders: the Blue Jays, Orioles, and Yankees. Now, I have the Yankees winning the division, and here's why that is. It's because the Blue Jays, I think, will be good. I think if you want a nice long shot pick, the Blue Jays would be an interesting long shot pick. I picked them last year, so I'm not going to pick them this year. But they didn't change a lot, but they're just a solid team all around. You got Bo Bichette, you've got Vlad Guerrero. Of course, the staff is okay. You've got Jose Barrios. They're a good team. They just scream like high 80 win team to me, but maybe I'll be proven wrong this year. And then the Orioles. Now, why am I not picking the Orioles? The Orioles just won 101 games, Evan, right? Well, they did, but so the Orioles have a very solid lineup, right? They have Adley Rutschman. They have Anthony Santander. They got Ryan O'Hearn, even in like the 8th spot, who is hitting great. top to bottom, just a very solid roster. However, it's not great, and they don't have that star. To me, one star, which the Yankees just acquired in Juan Soto, means more than three quote unquote holes filled in the MLB. I truly believe that. And yes, I know Cole is not pitching for the Yankees right now. He's hurt. And I know the season the Yankees just had was abysmal, but one star can change all that. I think the Yankees will get back on track. And the Orioles also, Jackson Holliday, we just learned today on Saturday that he will start in the minors. So as crazy as it sounds, he's only a 20-year-old kid. That makes a difference. They're going to try to get him a little more ready, gear it up for a future World Series run. And of course, it's probably still the plan to contend this year. They just traded for Corbin Burns, but I see the Yankees taking this division. So give me the New York Yankees. So let's go to the AL Central. The AL Central, I believe, who should I list as? I believe everyone's a contender. Every single team is a contender because of how, I'm not going to say bad, but mediocre this division is, right? Because the Twins played good last year, right? They had some positives in the playoffs. They made it to the division series. They played, Royce Lewis is a fun player to watch. However, and us AL Central, and I'm not even sure Twins fans realize it. Maybe they're just in denial. They're an odd year team. We saw in 2017 they made the playoffs. We saw in 2019 they hit a bunch of home runs. 2023 they get in, and then where do they go? The problem is because the Twins are a small market team. They don't spend a lot. So the Twins, I say everyone's a contender, but I'm going to give the division to the Cleveland Guardians. Now, I know this sounds a little surprising. Why Cleveland? I think Cleveland is still hanging around a little bit. They were not that great last year, but they have an MVP caliber player in Jose Ramirez, and that's hard to sort of get away from. Like, he's just a stud. So I believe the Guardians will ride Jose Ramirez. The Royals are on the climb. Bobby Witt Jr. is great. Their starting pitching staff is starting to come around, but they're still a year away, I think. But I would put them as a contender just because of how weird this division is. And then the White Sox, I believe the White Sox, and I'm a Sox fan, so I'm a little biased. I believe the White Sox, I'm seeing all these 62 win projections. And yes, is the starting staff abysmal now without Dylan Cease? Of course. But there is some talent there too. Garrett Crochet, we don't know how he'll do. He's going to make his first ever start opening day. And whoever. Oh, the Tigers I have not mentioned too. Yes, I am not as optimistic about the Tigers as everyone else. I know they got some young studs all around, but they need to build a little more of a core. So this division is just a complete toss up. Give me the Guardians, and we'll see from there. But I truly believe the White Sox people are sleeping on. If our lineup gets going, you never know. But all right, so let's move to the AL West. I believe this should come as no surprise. There are 3 contenders in this division, 2 non-contenders. Just the Oakland Athletics and probably their last season in Oakland, barring a miracle. Nobody's going to show up to the games. Relocation is an ugly, ugly thing. I would not, and I'm not even doing this to be funny, I would not be surprised if they finished worse than they did last year, where they lost like 112 games because, I mean, it's just a team and giving up. They're prepared for Vegas. They'll rebuild once they get to Vegas. But right now, and I know they made a couple solid additions, but still they'll be bad. And then the Angels, you still got a bit of an interesting core. Mike Trout is getting older, but he's Mike Trout, so you never know. You still have Anthony Rendon, but the starting staff is abysmal. It's a new look, and that's going to be rough this year. So you got 3 teams, the 3 teams that duked it out last year. I'm going to take the Texas Rangers. I think they're going to dethrone the Houston Astros. I know that's a little bit surprising too, because a lot of people have been predicting that the Rangers might slide a little bit since their World Series win last year. And that's possible. They might not win the World Series again, but I'm going to take them to win the division. I think number 1, the Mariners, they've been really good. You got the star player in Julio Rodriguez. They didn't do a ton because they don't have a ton of money in the offseason, but they've been really good, and they've been really good for a while. I will be on the Mariners bandwagon when they can show it to me. They got to show it to me all 162 games. It can't be an end of the season run. They got to show it to me. So until they show it to me, I can't take them. So I'm not taking them. So that leaves it to the Astros and Rangers. And I'm taking the Rangers because the Astros, you got a new manager now. You don't have Dusty Baker, a Hall of Fame manager, taking over like they did in 2020. Everyone was predicting they'd fall apart after the scandal, but they didn't because Dusty Baker helped them ride the ship. Altuve is still great, but they're getting a little older. They're losing players day by day. I don't know what Verlander's status is. Obviously I don't know if he's exactly 40, but he's very close to it. Give me the Rangers. Again, I know their starting staff is a little bit of a question mark, and I know their bullpen's a little bit of a question mark, but so was it last year, and they won the World Series. So, no, this offense can carry them through the regular season. Give me the Rangers to win the AL West. And we will move to the NL East. So, when it comes to contenders, I'm going to put three. I don't think the Nationals and Marlins can contend for this division. The Nationals, obviously, they had a hot run to end last year, but their roster is just lacking in depth. And the Marlins were really good last year too, but no Sandy Alcantara this year. Yes, they have a very good starting staff outside of that. Luzardo is going to be their ace this year. But that lineup, I think with Jorge Soler, and they got a little bit lucky last year. So they could be good. They could sneak in the wild card again, but they're not going to. This division's too powerful. They're not going to compete in this division. So that leads it to the Mets, the Phillies, and the Braves. And I know people would be surprised to throw the Mets in there, but last year was an everything went wrong year for the Mets. So if even they're just 50% better, they could give it a run. I'm going to give it to the Braves. I think that's the obvious answer. I think that lineup top to bottom, we were talking about the Orioles is a very good lineup top to bottom. This is just an excellent lineup top to bottom. It's hard to bet against it. You got Acuna, Austin Riley, Matt Olson. Just even once you got to the bottom, you had guys last year contributing like Eddie Rosario, and it was just it's a great lineup top to bottom. In the regular season, that's enough. In the playoffs, that's been their problem recently, but in the regular season, that's been enough. So give me Atlanta to win the division. Phillies obviously will always stick around too because they spend. But I'm going to take Atlanta in this division. So we'll move to the NL Central, which I have another upset pick. I had an upset pick in the AL Central, and I'm going to have an upset pick in the NL Central. But anyway, so contenders and not contenders. I think the only real not contender is the Pittsburgh Pirates. I don't know why people are so down on the Pittsburgh Pirates. They have an exciting farm system coming up. So obviously, yeah, it's probably not going to be this year, but they're not like one of the dregs of the league right now. I think they've got a little more of an exciting future, especially in a division that's not great. You could potentially make a run, but not this year. So the Pirates are not a contender. And then I have the other four potentially being contenders. So the Brewers, yes, you lose Corbin Burns, and that sucks. But that's not the end of the world. They've been able to make pitching work. Christian Yelich had a bounce back year last year. He took a lot of walks. He was a more disciplined hitter. And then you have Contreras, you have Adames, you have the guys they've had the last couple years. However, those guys have been good enough to win the division in the last couple years. So you can't completely count them out. With the Cardinals, they finished last place, but there's just so much talent there. Pitching is better this year that they're relying on that. The Cubs, they're able to get Cody Bellinger back, and they're able to, they signed the one pitcher. I can't remember his name, international league pitcher. He's going to be like their number third guy. I think they still want Steele as their number one, which is a little interesting. I think the Cubs lineup is good, but that rotation gives me a little bit of pause. I got the Cincinnati Reds winning the division. I do. And this is a surprise, but I think when you have young pieces like that, like obviously Ellie De La Cruz is going to be the big star, and we all can't wait to see the season he has. But don't forget, you got guys like Jonathan India at the top of the lineup. Pitching's improving for them. I think last year people were making them the trendy pick. That was a little early, but this year I'm going to go in. The Reds will win the division. Maybe they'll get another arm at the deadline if they're competing enough. I got the Reds winning this division. So that leads me to the NL West, our final division. This one's fairly easy who's going to win, but just really quick, contenders and not contenders. I see one contender. It's just because they've dumped so much money. They still have a great farm system. This is the only one where I see only one contender. It's going to be the Los Angeles Dodgers. But let's talk about the other teams for a little bit. Colorado Rockies, you know how I was saying the Pittsburgh Pirates aren't in the dregs of the league. Now, this is the dregs of the league. You got the Rockies, you got the A's, and all those. I don't have the heart to put the White Sox in there, but we're getting pretty close there. But the Colorado Rockies are in the dregs of the league. Yes, you signed Chris Bryant not too a season or two ago, but they just don't have anything else. The Giants just got a very, very nice acquisition in Blake Snell that could help them towards a wild card run, but it's not going to help them win the division. I think the Diamondbacks, you got to remember, yes, they just went to the World Series, but they won 84 games last year and they got hot at the right time. Now, credit to them. That's what you got to do. However, is it going to be enough to beat the Dodgers in 162 games in the regular season? I don't think so, but they do have some studs. There's if their front office doesn't screw it up, which they did back in the days when they had Paul Goldschmidt and all those guys. If they don't screw it up, you gotta like that core. You got Walker at first base. You have Corbin Carroll, who was phenomenal last year. You've got Ketel Marte. You've got just a very solid foundation. So they're a fun team to watch. I hope that their GM does not mess that up. And then finally, you got the Padres in there too, of course. Tatis, he could have an MVP year any year. But it's getting, losing Juan Soto. I know they just got Dylan Cease, but losing Juan Soto is going to be tough. And I don't see that maybe they compete for the wild card again. It's going to be tough to compete with the Dodgers.